Welcome back to World History Crash Course with your favorite hosts, Addie and Foster.
Today we'll look into British imperialism, or more specifically when the British took over India in the 18th century. But to understand why and how this happened, we must first understand what imperialism itself is.
Imperialism, in short, a one-sided process in which a heavily industrialized country takes control of an unindustrialized, economically weaker country by economic, political, or social means. In this case, Great Britain was the controlling country in India. Well, India was pretty much screwed.
The Mughal Empire was an empire characterized by its strong leaders who successfully ruled over India for 200 years before it saw its fall in the mid-1700s. As the number of influential leaders began to decline, so did the Mughal Empire, and this is when Britain began to take hold.
But how did Britain get there in the first place?
Can you let me finish? The British East India Company established trading rights along the coast of the Mughal Empire during the 1600s. As the Mughal Empire met its fate, Britain took advantage of their growing influence and turned the diverse nation against one another. Cultural discrepancies and language barriers made Britain's brash attempt at overthrowing India successful. When the provocation of disunity didn't work, the British took a less complicated route and shot them.
Through all that mess, the British East Indian Company made significant profits and established an extensive road system throughout India. That's pretty much where all the good things end. With the beginning of the 19th century came the introduction of Western ideals, education, and religion into Indian culture and legislator. And this is where the problem started.
Britain made some notable mistakes by the 1850s. Let's review them. First, they enlisted sepoys, aka Indian soldiers, into their military either in India or abroad. But the trouble was, traveling abroad was considered an offense against the religion of high caste Hindus. Second, the British East India Company passed a law that permitted Hindu widows to remarry, an action those of the Hindu faith believed to be a tool of Christian conspiracy to invalidate their religion.
This time, Britain managed to screw up royally. In 1857, new rifles with cartridges greased with animal fat were assigned to the sepoys. The problem lied within the source of the animal fat from cows, which are sacred to Hindus, or from pigs, a creature forbidden to those of Muslim faith. The sepoys, loyal to their religion, refused to load the rifles and were consequently imprisoned to their actions. This did not stop them, however.
Furious sepoys rebelled against the British officers, fueling a rebellion that swept across the nation. The Sepoy Rebellion was led by last Mughal Empire, and together they managed to slaughter British men, women, and children. But their efforts were futile, and they were soon crushed by British forces who took revenge for their own losses, burning down villages and murdering thousands of Indians.
It was messy to say the least, and Indian took a terrible blow. Britain ended the rule of the East Indian Company in 1858, instead taking the Indian for its own under the rule of the British Raj and Viceroy, Indian representative. More troops were sent into the India to tax its residents for the cost of military maintenance.
So basically the sepoys rebelled and got nothing in return.
Well, their efforts did slow Britain reform, but overall pretty much.
Whoa, time for the open letter.
You guys supported the British Army in numerous wars such as the Opium War. The British never truly realized how important you guys were.
Britain continued to modernize India by implementing Western ideas to Indian culture. Coining the country as Jewel of the Crown, Britain continued to exploit Indian resources such as poppy, opium, cotton, jute, and coal, profiting off their economic inequality. Industrialization meant quantity over quality, and for India this meant their age-old hand-weaving industry was replaced with machines. Farmers were encouraged to grow cash crops, leading to excessive deforestation or completely destroying the environment.
Better farming and healthcare also meant a population rise, which was a problem in and of itself. Famine gripped the nation with more and more farmers focusing on growing cash crops to please the British rather than actual food to feed the starving people in India.
British rule wasn't all that bad though. The legal system was revised, railroads were built, communication improved, and a relative peace settled over the country. As Britain continued to educate Indians, the educated rose to challenge British rule, spreading an Indian nationalist movement in the 1800s that led to the creation of the Indian National Congress and Muslim League.
And
There you have it, folks. See you next time on World History Crash Course.